Okay, here's the rewritten script in very simple English. It's casual, like friendly gossip and storytelling, but keeps every single bit of info the same. No adding, no removing, no shortening. Paragraph style, no timestamps, same line-by-line length and structure. At 88, Max Baer Jr. finally talks about Nancy Kulp. Max Baer Jr. was born Maximilian Adelbert Baer Jr. on December 4, 1937, in Oakland, California. Max Baer Jr. was pretty much born into fame. His dad, Max Baer Sr., was the world heavyweight boxing champion from 1934 to 1935. He was a charming but controversial sports star whose fame hung over the whole family name. Growing up under such a big shadow shaped Max Baer Jr.'s early days. It gave him confidence and made him really understand the pressure that comes with being in the public eye. He was athletic, good-looking, and naturally charming, so Max Baer Jr. seemed headed straight for stardom. He went to Santa Clara University, where he studied philosophy and did great in sports like golf and boxing. But he never went pro in sports. Instead, he got pulled toward acting because of all the creative chances in movies and TV during the boom after the war. Hollywood in the late 1950s was looking for fresh young faces, and Baer Jr. was just right for it. His early acting jobs were small but regular parts in TV shows like 77 Sunset Strip, Hawaiian Eye, and Cheyenne. Those roles showed off how good he looked and acted on screen, but in 1962, something big happened that changed and complicated his whole career. Baer Jr. got the part of Jethro Bodine on the Beverly Hillbillies, a funny show about a country family that suddenly gets rich and moves to fancy Beverly Hills. As Jethro, Baer created one of TV's most famous characters, the sweet, not-so-smart, super-confident young guy whose funny word mix-ups, silly physical jokes, and big cocky walk made the show a hit. The Beverly Hillbillies was huge. At its best, it was the #1 show in America, with tens of millions of people watching every week. Baer Jr.'s acting was a big reason people loved it. His perfect timing, body movements, and full effort turned Jethro from just a basic joke character into someone the audience really liked. But the huge success of that role became both good and bad. He got typecast fast, and Baer Jr. had a hard time getting seen as anyone but Jethro Bodine. When the Beverly Hillbillies ended in 1971 after 9 seasons, Baer Jr. ran into the tough truth that lots of TV stars face. Getting away from a super-famous role is harder than getting it in the first place. Casting people didn't want to put him in serious or very different roles because they worried fans would always see Jethro. Even with his skill and drive, the doors in Hollywood started shutting. Instead of giving up and getting mad, Baer Jr. changed things up, showing smart thinking and good business sense. He switched to producing and directing, building a whole new career behind the scenes. In the 1970s, he started his own production company and made cheap films that made good money surprisingly. His biggest win was Macon County Line in 1974, a rough action movie based on real events. Made on a small budget, it became a big hit at the box office, earning millions and proving Baer Jr. was a smart, independent movie maker. By the middle of the 1970s, Max Baer Jr. really wanted to show his creative dreams went way past TV and the shadow of his famous character. In 1975, he made a brave and personal jump into filmmaking by producing, writing, and directing The Wild McCullochs, a tough Southern drama that showed he was a serious artist. Baer didn't stay just behind the camera. He acted in it too, playing the complicated character Culver Robinson, a part that let him show deeper, darker feelings than fans had ever seen from him. The movie was like him saying he was in charge of his own path now. That hard work paid off the next year when Baer directed and produced Ode to Billie Joe in 1976, turning Bobby Gentry's sad hit song into a movie. The film really touched people, became a big success, and proved Baer had real talent for art and making money at the box office. It boosted his name in Hollywood and showed he had a great sense for stories that connected with everyone. Even though Baer only directed one more time, the 1979 film Hometown USA, Ode to Billie Joe stayed his top directing success. People often say it was when he finally escaped being typecast. After his movie years, Baer turned to business with the same drive and ideas that pushed his creative side. He got smart about investing in real estate and casinos, building another bold career just like his Hollywood one. Mixing old memories with business dreams, Baer aimed to create a full Beverly Hillbillies world. A big plan to turn the loved show into a real brand people could experience. The main ideas included things like Jethro's Beverly Hills Mansion and casinos themed around the famous show that made him known everywhere. In a smart move that showed his business skills and lasting tie to the show, Baer got a deal with the network people, giving him rights to use the show's names, characters, and famous details. With those rights, he set himself up to turn TV history into something that would make money for a long time. More than just an old sitcom star, Max Baer Jr. became a guy with many sides. Filmmaker, business owner, and dreamer, who kept changing himself while respecting the big cultural hit that first grabbed America's attention. Even with his business wins, Baer Jr.'s feelings about the Beverly Hillbillies stayed mixed. For years, he talked openly about how the show held back his acting chances. But as time went on, he started seeing things differently. He realized how much happiness the show gave people and the mark it left on culture. Jethro Bodine, once a heavyweight, turned into something to be proud of, an unforgettable character in TV history. In his older years, Baer Jr. got more private, staying out of the public while still working on creative stuff and business. He also fought legal cases over people using his image, especially for Jethro-themed casino slot machines, showing he wanted to guard his legacy and rights. In 2014, Max Baer Jr. came back into view, not as an actor, but as a strong businessman, ready to fight for an idea he'd been building for years. That year, he filed a big lawsuit against CBS, saying the network secretly made a deal with a restaurant chain in Des Moines called Jethro's BBQ. He said that hurt his longtime plans connected to the Beverly Hillbillies. To Baer, this wasn't just about names or rights. It was a fight over owning his creativity, his legacy, and getting to make money from a character he helped make famous. In the lawsuit, Baer said way back in 1991 he worked out an agreement with CBS that gave him rights to use Jethro Bodine and other names, themes, and famous parts from the show for a big business plan. His idea was way bigger than just a fun restaurant. Baer pictured a huge brand full of entertainment with themed restaurants, fancy hotels, and casinos, all using the lasting love and old memories people had for the Beverly Hillbillies. To him, it was a natural next step for something that never really went away from people's minds. Baer said CBS's deal with Jethro's BBQ lowered the value of his rights and threatened to ruin years of his work, money, and detox by letting someone else use the Jethro name without him. He claimed the network basically stopped him from making money off the character that shaped his career and stayed tied to who people saw him as. The lawsuit showed a man who waited patiently for the right time to make his dream real, only to find out someone changed things behind his back. He stayed really close to Buddy Ebsen long after the show ended. It was a friendship that lasted decades, built on real caring, respect for each other, and memories from TV's great days. Their connection was so solid that it held strong even at the end of Ebsen's life. Right before his acting teacher and old friend died from pneumonia on July 6, 2003, Baer made a touching visit to Ebsen's hospital bed along with Donna Douglas. That quiet, feeling moment away from cameras showed how strong a friendship can be, one that went beyond fame, deals, and years. It wasn't for show. It was a personal goodbye, full of thanks, loyalty, and the kind of understanding that only comes from long shared times and deep bonds. But later parts of his life got covered by something much sadder and harder. In January 2008, his life got hit hard by a terrible loss when his girlfriend who lived with him, 30-year-old model Cherry Rhodes, was found dead in his Lake Tahoe home in what looked like suicide. The big age difference, her being so young and him 70 then, made the shock even bigger for everyone. In a note she left, Rhodes mentioned problems in their relationship, a short but sad line that started lots of talk and put a dark shadow on their very private romance. The story got huge media attention, turning private pain into public staring and becoming one of the hardest, most talked-about times in his later life. Together, these two events, one full of loyalty and lasting friendship, the other full of loss and sadness, paint a touching picture of a life with deep bonds and huge heartbreak. At 88 years old, Max Baer Jr. has gotten to a place where keeping quiet feels worse than telling the truth. For decades, he almost never talked in public about his tricky relationship with Nancy Kulp, the actress who played Miss Jane Hathaway on the Beverly Hillbillies and helped make it one of TV's most loved comedies. Fans only saw easy fun and sweet comedy between them on screen, but behind the scenes things were a lot more complicated, with mix-ups, hurt feelings, and tension that never got fixed. Looking back now, Baer says time has made him see things softer. When you're young and riding the wave of success, you don't always get how much words or quiet can hurt someone, he says. Nancy was an amazing woman, and I don't think I valued that enough when we worked together. Baer has always been linked to his role as Jethro Bodine, the sweet but slow cousin whose big physical jokes defined the show. Kulp, on the other hand, brought smarts, exactness, and hard work to her Miss Jane Hathaway. Away from the camera, those differences often kept them apart. Nancy took acting very seriously, Baer says. She had a smart, school-like mind and wanted everything professional. I was more natural and fun. Sometimes those styles just didn't match. Talk of bad feelings between them went around for years, fed by things Kulp said later in life about feeling ignored or not respected. Baer now says those feelings were true. I never hated Nancy, he says strongly, but I can see now how she might have felt left out. The show went big on wild comedy, and I got a lot from that. She held herself with class, and sometimes that class got taken the wrong way. One of the hardest parts of their relationship came after the Beverly Hillbillies finished. Kulp fought to get away from typecasting and finally quit acting, while Baer stayed tied to Jethro for years. Success is weird, Baer says. It gives you so much and takes stuff away, too. I didn't see how hard the time after the show was on her. In her later years, Culp got into politics and spoke out a lot, things that made her even farther from the sweet Miss Hathaway fans remembered. Baer admits he should have called her, but didn't. "That's something I regret," he says. "There are times in life when a phone call can fix everything. I didn't make that call." Now, with the clear view that only getting older brings, Baer talks not to defend himself, but with real humility. Nancy deserved respect for her brains, her skill, and her wish to be more than just a comedy character, he says. "If I could tell her anything now, it would be thank you. She helped make something that still makes millions happy." At 88, Max Baer Jr. gets that legacies come from more than just laughs. They come from being honest, too. By finally opening up about Nancy Kulp, he gives a fuller story, one that respects the fun they made together and the normal human mistakes that happened off camera.